Welcome to Family Law Talk, presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm in the St. Louis metro area with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. My name is Kirk Stange, and I am one of the managing partners of Stange Law Firm, which is a family law firm in the St. Louis metro area with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Welcome to today's topic of Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. The topic today is, do all couples need a prenuptial agreement? And I'm on the phone today with John Kirschman, another attorney at our firm. John, you on the phone with me today?
Yes, I am here, Kirk. How are you?
Doing good. Well, we're going to talk about the topic here in just a moment, but before we get to the topic, I should state, as I always state, that the choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements, and that the information you obtain in this episode today is general in nature, and it may not apply to specific factual or legal circumstance. Therefore, if you need an attorney and you need advice, you should definitely contact somebody licensed to practice law in your specific jurisdiction. All right, well, on to today's topic. Again, today's topic is, do all couples need a prenuptial agreement? And this is based on an entry on our blog, a blog entry, divorcelawyersstlouismo.com. The date of the blog article is December 27, 2013. The title of the blog entry is Why Prenuptial Agreements Are Needed for Every Couple. And the article references an article that was on CNBC as well. And so the topic today is, like I said, do all couples need a prenuptial agreement? Pretty interesting topic. I think takes an interesting spin, this topic, on a reason that folks might think about getting a prenup that they probably don't ordinarily think about. So, John, what did you think about the article, and what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, it's a good point that they make. It wasn't the first thing I think of with a prenuptial agreement. The first thing I thought of is similar to why people would get wills or trusts. It's that nobody really wants to think about that part of our future, but it's just a responsible thing to do. And then I read the article. I'm like, that's a really good point, especially with a lot of younger women are emerging from the workforce to become stay-at-home moms. It's a different world. It's not a traditional path. So it's a good idea for couples to set forth or be on the same page about how they're going to move forward with that type of an arrangement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, I think when folks think about prenuptial agreements or postnuptial agreements are actually talked about in the article, people are normally thinking about the scenario where you've got one individual that comes into the marriage with a bunch of assets, and then you've got the other prospective spouse who comes in, and maybe they don't have nearly as many assets as the other spouse, and the worry is, well, how do you protect all these assets if you're the spouse bringing in the money in the instance of divorce? And that is normally the concern that a lot of folks have who want prenuptial agreements. That's at least what we've seen. I thought the article was really interesting because it's a totally different spin in terms of why parties might want to get a prenuptial agreement. It references, stay-at-home moms that are maybe leaving a career in order to maybe child rear kids. In that situation, a stay-at-home mom might actually want a prenuptial agreement to make sure that she's protected in the instance that the marriage doesn't work out. So I thought that was a really interesting rationale for prenuptial agreements that I probably haven't spent nearly enough time thinking about. So I don't know what you thought about that whole idea. To me, it was kind of interesting rationale that was enlightening in a lot of ways, because I hadn't probably contemplated this nearly enough.
Agreed. It just wasn't the first thing that I thought of, but it really made a lot of sense because women could really put themselves in a tough spot if a number of years later and there's an expectation that they should immediately re-enter the workforce. If nobody really wants to think about those events happening later on, but if the couple's on the same page and are able to have a conversation about these types of matters up front, that at least my experience is these folks are really in good position to never face a divorce anyway. They just tend to get along better. They have better communication. And if they're not communicating, and I think it speaks to that in the article too, if they're not communicating well up front, it's a pretty good indication that they're unlikely to communicate if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I thought that the one part of the article that I thought might be easier said than done, as they talk about, at least to me, they talk about money is often cited as one of the top reasons for tension in a marriage. Well, that's certainly true, and I agree with that. People fight over money a lot, and I see that in my cases. But one of the things they talk about is because of that, the parties would want a post-nup, which is basically a prenup, but you do it after the marriage, to set forth how money would work if the marriage broke down, and specifically dealing with situations where, wife is contemplating staying home and taking care of the kids. I guess the thing I thought about, which would be practically hard about this, is, how do you, at least to me, my experience has been we do a lot of prenups, not a lot of postnups, because once the parties are married, there's not a whole lot of incentive for the other party to want to enter that agreement. It seems like prior to the marriage, that's all the incentive to do it. But then, boy, after parties are married, not a whole lot of incentive to do a postnuptial agreement. So that was one of the things I thought, just to kind of candidly critique the CNBC article, that I thought would be a little bit easier said than done. I mean, how does a wife, I don't know if you have any ideas about that, John, but how does a wife who's going to be a stay-at-home mom then convince her husband, hey, let's do a postnup if they didn't do it before? That seems hard to me.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. And, I mean, there's a couple of things that I would see. One is there's a lot of people I don't think even realize that you can get a postnuptial agreement. It's just regular conversations with people, and they think, oh, it's too late, I already got married. I'm like, no, you can still do this afterwards. And then if the couple is thinking of a major life change like that, and presuming everybody is in pretty good moods and they are on the same page with what they're doing, it might be good timing to bring up the subject while there is intention, that there won't be thoughts of an ulterior motive. It's just a responsible thing to do, similar to just why do we get a will or a trust? It's just a responsible thing to do, and it's for people that are like to be in control and want to be able to have plans setting forth right down to here's our goals for parenting. But as you said, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, because I think, to put it this way, a lot of times people fall in love and they get married, and sometimes, you get into an issue of some marriages is a lot in common, and some marriages, opposites attract, right? And so, probably in the cases, at least to me, where there's a whole lot of commonality and both people are really kind of practical and kind of on the same life path and the same goals and desires, this post-nup idea after the marriage would seem to be pretty plausible. But man, in those opposite attract type marriages where it's more, it's more an attraction or passion that attracted people together than logic and common sense. Gosh, a lot of those cases, you start to sit down early in a marriage, start talking about finances. They're right that if you can do it, then yeah, you would have an easier divorce down the line. But gosh, in those types of cases, it's just a tough thing where both parties kind of have different life views and different life goals or whatnot. Seem like that might exacerbate problems. But on the flip end, if people, are trying to save themselves a costly divorce and they're able to do it, sure. I think doing a post-nup certainly a good thing if parties can make that happen, no question about that. Absolutely. Well, do you have any other thoughts on that, John?
No, I think you're right on. It really it's a good point about just the personalities of the couples or the ways in which they're attracted to each other is going to play a major role. It's going to be a big factor in the choice of a pre or post-nuptial agreement, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought, the other good piece to the article, which is right, is that a woman's child-rearing years are usually her highest earning years. And so, there's no question that moms that stay home with kids, do outstanding work, and that's hard work. And there's no question that, especially, moms that, have good careers, a good career path, there's no question that they give up a lot of income kind of in their peak year, so to speak, when they do that. I mean, there's just no question about that, and that a prenup can be of assistance in those types of cases to ensure that mom's going to be protected if she's going out of the workforce.
Right. And in many respects, the way the law is evolving, it may become necessary for her to be able to ensure her future financial needs.
Yeah, and I think I think that that's definitely true. I guess you get into situations too in some of these cases. If mom is, let's say dad's trying to get mom to stay home and take care of the kids, and I think mom probably has, more leverage, as this article indicates, to say, well, I'll stay home and take care of the kids if you give me a post-nup to protect me. Right. I mean, I think in those cases it makes a whole lot of sense. But definitely
that's
in the cases where, but definitely in the cases where maybe the husband's kind of like ambivalent over it, and maybe the wife more wants to stay home and take care of the kids. That's more her passion. Probably going to be tough to get husband to want to do a post-nup then.
That's true. But at least, if nothing else, it gets them having the conversation, and it's always good for healthy marriages to have productive conversation.
Well, there's just no question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just even if it's just to see where you may be disagreeing over something. Sometimes, okay, you can agree to disagree, but it's better to get it out in the open.
Yeah, and there's just no question if parties can do a prenup and they can say, here's who would get what assets in the case of a divorce. That can certainly help minimize the pain of the divorce and make it easier. And then, in some cases with prenuptial agreements, take spousal support, which I think this article kind of gets to. In a prenuptial agreement, you can do multiple things. One, you can actually, stipulate the amounts in the case of divorce. So you could state, if there's a divorce, X amount would be paid, and you can even do things like, structured spousal support awards. You can get creative by doing stuff like saying,
like by number of years and so forth. Yeah, that they're married.
Yeah,
they're married for X years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And that's the interesting thing about prenuptial agreements, which can save parties a lot of heartache on the back end and trying to fight over this stuff. So there is no question that if the parties can rationally and logically kind of go through this, it's a good thing. It can save them a lot of money. But on the flip end, I don't know what you think, but to me, again, probably the time to do this is before you get married, at least from my vantage point, than after you get married. Because, gosh, if you got totally different, opposite, polar views, that's probably better to flesh out before you walk down the aisle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's going to be more unusual circumstances at the postnuptial. I think just for folks to know that it's possible. There's people that just don't even realize they can do it. But you're right. Getting it done beforehand, where it's just part of your planning process, you're right. It's going to be a lot easier to do it then.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot easier to do that. And then to the listeners out there, the laws vary in all the states, and so there's different nuances to prenuptial agreements. But generally speaking, to have an enforceable prenup or a postnuptial agreement, what you're looking for is, it's got to be done without duress or coercion. There's got to be consideration, so both parties have to. There's got to be give and take, in other words, and then. In addition to that, there's got to be a full disclosure of assets is another big key. But to the listeners and the folks out there, if all that happens and you have a good attorney, these prenuptial agreements and postnuptial agreements, they are enforceable, and they can help save on a lot of the cost of a divorce if the parties are able to enter it. That's definitely true. All right. Well, John, you have any other thoughts on this topic?
No, that about sums up. It's good to bring it to people's attention, just the options that are available before and after. Yeah, absolutely. Marriage.
Absolutely. It can definitely save a lot of the heartache and a lot of the stress. Well, again, the topic is, do all couples need a prenuptial agreement? And again, to the listeners out there, if you want to follow up on this topic, go to divorcelawyersstlouismo.com. You can check out our article dated December 27, 2013, which is why prenuptial agreements are needed for every couple. And then from there, there's a link to the CNBC article, which I said, to the listeners out there, definitely has an interesting spin and a different view on why prenuptial agreements might be needed. So, to the stay-at-home moms out there, or the ladies that are thinking about being stay-at-home moms, this is definitely an article I think you want to check out for sure, and at least consider it. And then, no matter what jurisdiction you're in, talk to an attorney and at least get advice and know what your options are. So, definitely interesting topic. That concludes our episode today here at Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today.
The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail, or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.